Sounds good. Oh,
Uber.
look at your background. Giant moon.
Yeah, yeah. And we should be live now. So
Hello.
we are live.
Okay,
We got 12
we are
viewers.
live.
What is up, everyone? You should
Hello,
hear
everyone.
uh, myself, John Winter Murphy, J Winter M, and MBEA, who is, we don't know what MBEA stands for.
The different theories around that.
Yeah.
Melbourne, Victoria, East Australia.
Ah,
Or,
there you go.
more recently, my very expensive avatars.
That's a
Yeah.
good one. Yeah. So tonight it is just myself and MEA. No one else listed on title slide up there, and we got the background music going from Pixabay, free downloads that you can use on your YouTube streams or whatever. It is it's called Apocalypse, which I felt was appropriate. Yeah.
Well,
The
it's not that
recent
bad.
news from Reddit, which we're going to talk about a lot tonight for sure. So, yeah, I guess I think let's try and keep it pretty quick tonight. I think mostly the people who are here now or who are going to listen later are like most interested in the Reddit and the moon stuff. So, and
right.
since all the rest of our hosts flaked out on us, I think you and I will be most equipped to talk about that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to. I guess it's only 9:28, so we could wait.
We should
minutes.
wait.
Yeah, we'll wait.
Yeah, let's wait. It's not exactly time yet.
See, we're up to 11 viewers now, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I can see 12 actually. 12 watching now,
Okay.
according to you.
It looks like the chat is not. Oh, here we go. I got the chat one.
There is chat. Yeah.
I got it. Okay, cool.
People have been asking about when it was going to start. And it's starting now, really, in the next minute.
Yeah, we're gonna get started here in just a minute. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill the music in a second. How is the sound for anyone in the chat? Everything sounds good?
How is the sound? Good question.
I didn't even check it today. I was just like, heck it, we're doing it live.
You sound fine to me.
Yeah, I can never tell with the mix when I try and mix in the music if it's gonna be too loud and
The music
sometimes
is
I
loud.
think- Oh, it is. Okay.
I've
cool.
unmuted
All
it, yeah.
I'm killing.
Oh,
the
no,
music.
no, not yet.
Well, it's 9:30 now. It's 9:30.
Oh, it's
so I
now
killed the
exactly
music.
9:30.
Yeah.
Exactly
So
9:30.
our normal format here is first up. When we get started, we have our host choice for predictions. I got my giant moon background today, and MVEA has his Prime Minister Xi avatar going.
Don't get me canceled by China.
Sorry. So I guess you get to go first because it's only me and you. So
Do
what's
I?
your
Oh,
prediction
gee.
for the next month? Yeah, until the show comes back.
Oh, everyone, Cashby is saying that we sound good, so that's a good sign. Prediction. Oh, gee. Well, look, it's an interesting time, isn't it? If you look at the markets, Bitcoin and the rest of the market had a bit of a pump, which there's been more recently a fallback, which is healthy and normal. And we are heading into the halving, right? So if you look at history, and we all know that just because it's happened before doesn't mean it will happen again, but that's the only thing we've got. If you look at history, that's exactly what happens, right? Things go and up and comes down before the halving, and then post halving, there is a bit of a down, and it goes pump, right? That's when the bull market starts. So bull market starts usually after the halving or halvening.
Historically, yeah.
Historically. So I think that's my prediction is that we're going to follow history here.
And so you're saying we're going to like crab or go down a little bit in the next
I think we're going to
3
go
to
up
6
and down.
months?
Exactly. Now the ETFs they are the wild card here, right? The Bitcoin ETF and now the
But
Ethereum.
specifically, okay, for the next month, what are you calling next?
Well, next month I think it's going to be up and down, but
kind of
sideways. Yeah. Overall, you can swing trade it if you want to, but I think it's going to be flat and maybe a bit of a crash end of the year. Maybe that's my prediction.
Okay. My prediction is that in 1 month's time, hopefully the moderators of our cryptocurrency are formalizing some entity which will take control of the Moon Distributor account, which is holding currently about 1 million moons. And now that Reddit is out of the picture, we really want, especially me, I really want to kind of get this decentralization going, right? Because with Reddit out of the picture now, it's kind of me holding the Moon Distributor account, and we want to use that for other things than just trivia. Which plug for trivia tomorrow at the same time, 9:30 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern time. We're gonna do trivia with 1,000 moons in prizes. So
1,000 moons.
right, like we've been doing stuff like that, and for the past few years, it's been just me in control of this account, the Moon Distributor, which was kind of like an interface account between Reddit admins and the moderators, and we would always put aside one share into this kind of community pot, and I have personally been in control of it, which I wasn't really comfortable with, but I was okay with it while Reddit was in the picture. But now with Reddit out of the picture, I definitely want to get moving on some kind of entity that will take control of this account, and also, going forwards, kind of handle the business of the subreddit, because it really is kind of a business operation now with the banner and the AMAs and everything. So moving on to our first bit of news, if you would care to guess what it is. Reddit kills Reddit community points program. Shocker. That's what we're going to
Reddit.
talk about. Yeah. So I guess
I mean, it was
continue the conversation. Yeah, like
we knew it was a possibility. We knew
Yeah.
it might happen, and knowing Reddit, we all know, and we've all been with Reddit for a while now, that Reddit tends to choose the worst option possible for themselves and for the community. And this time around, they really did it. So yeah, okay, rugged.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, technically,
rugged by Reddit. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, let's be clear. It's not a rug, really, because a rug, technically, if you want to be technical about it, specifically, it's a project that steals money and runs off of it. Right. So Reddit hasn't really done that. They could have done it, really. They could have sold the 43 million moons and ran off with the money, but they have burned it, at least. So
Yeah. So I guess just to give a little bit of background for everybody listening, if in case you don't know everything that's gone on a long time ago or recently, I guess. So moons were this token that Reddit launched 3.5 years ago, with two subreddits, our cryptocurrency and Fortnite BR, launching moons and bricks for those communities, which these tokens were designed to be community governance tokens that were awarded to people for their contributions and would be used to vote on how the subreddit operated. And after, years of many ups and downs and different networks, Reddit kind of migrated these things around until they landed on Arbitrum Nova. And at that point, that was just over a year ago, if you can believe it. We went to mainnet just over a year ago, and shortly after that, Reddit announced, we're going to mainnet, and you can buy gas using FTX US. And they added a link to FTX US in the sidebar, which, became apparent. It became apparent that was a terrible decision about 2 to 3 months later. And they, so at that point, I think for me, that was like the time when I thought it was most likely they would kill moons or the program in general, was after FTX collapsed. And then over the last winter, Reddit killed Reddit Talk, and they killed the predictions feature, and I think a couple other things. They had killed RPAN fairly recently. So I kind of felt like after Reddit Community Points survived that round of Reddit killing its products, that they were safe. And then after that, crypto.com and Kraken listed, and personally I thought that was an indication that Reddit was kind of on board with listings, and they were really ready to accelerate the program, not throw it in the trash. And how wrong I was.
Well, that was a hope, wasn't it, JW? Everyone
Yeah,
was
sure.
expecting, everyone was thinking maybe Reddit was going to implement moons across the rest of the site. That other
Not
communities
moons,
are
but just some
something.
tokens. Yeah, but anyway, they didn't, and so
No.
about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Reddit told the moderators that they wanted to have a call with us, which was not unusual. Like, I mean, probably that happened a couple times a year over the last few years on average, and I was not able to attend this meeting, and I did not listen to the recording, I guess, which was circulating for some time. But apparently during the call, like at the beginning of the call, Reddit announced that they were going to kill the program. And then during that call, several our cryptocurrency moderators left the call and said they were quitting, and went ahead and sold their moons before that knowledge became public. So Reddit, went on the call and announced they're going to kill the program in an hour. They're like, "Hey guys, we're killing the program in an hour." I don't think that they said don't sell, but I think we had made an agreement, or kind of among ourselves, that none of us would trade until any news became public. And so the guys who ended up selling before the news became public all eventually removed themselves from the mod team. And that was a big drama, of course, because people love drama. But yeah, so that kind of gets us to a couple of weeks ago, and then it was really unclear. Reddit said they were going to renounce the contract, I guess, and burn their moons, but it wasn't really clear that they were going to do that. And now I think they've burned their moons, but they haven't yet renounced the contract. But they've firmly and clearly stated that they plan to do that before the end of the year. Is that correct?
Before the end of the month, actually.
Before the end of the month, so just
Before
10
the
more
end
days.
of November.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's what they've said. Having said all that, we know Reddit's track record in actually keeping to timelines. So surprisingly, they burned the moons early. So
Yeah.
that was a surprise to all of us. So as JW said, it was about a month ago. So October 17th was the date when they met with the mod team and then announced the sunsetting. That's a new term for killing. They sunsetted RCPs. But this is where we are at right now as a community. You want to look at it glass half empty or glass half full. The glass half full view is that Reddit's cutting ties with the project, which means that the project's now completely decentralized. They're going to renounce the contract, which means that no new moons are going to be minted. Now, I know there are conspiracy theories out there saying new moons are being minted, but that's not true. No moons can be minted once they renounce.
Just to clarify there was some posts being made on some other subreddit, and those moons that are being minted are people claiming accounts, right? Like Reddit set aside moons for users who received karma but had not yet claimed them in the vault. So these were like the last few people like claiming their newly created vaults moons, right? And it was just a couple of moons, like it's a few hundred moons or something since Reddit renounced the contract, I think. But yes, there's no more moons being created. The max supply will be 83 million or so. And just to say upfront, we plan to continue the banners and the AMAs with the current kind of procedure where the full amount of moons is burned. But I think we're going to talk a little bit later on about some possibilities for how that may change going forwards to resume distributions to users for their contributions, and how governance will work going forwards and stuff as well. So I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more, but we have like two other news topics that I want to get to real quick, and then we'll get back to moon stuff. But I guess before we move on, actually, do you have any thoughts, MBA, on how this Reddit killing Reddit community points program, do you think it reflects more broadly on the social governance token experiment, or do you think it says more about Reddit, or do you have thoughts on it kind of more broadly?
Yeah, it's a very good question, JW. Look, it's a surprise because if you go back to early in the year, Reddit CEO Steve was at a conference, and that there was a video that was circulated where he was talking about the fact that he wanted to see Reddit adopt Web3, and that communities were gonna have their own economy running with based on the blockchain. And so that suggested that Reddit was going to pivot into
that was part of the reason
token.
why
Yeah.
I was also part
Yeah,
of the
that's
reason
right.
why I didn't think they were going to kill the program.
So
Yes.
the fact that they kind of moved away from all of that, like literally went away from it, would suggest that clearly the strategy has changed, and that Reddit's now focused on basically making as much money as possible in the short term to basically frame themselves as best as they can pre-IPO. I think they want to create financial statements that will be attractive for venture capitalist investors, so that they can go public with the company.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
think
my
that
view.
also, I think it's at least as much about regulatory risk existing in their organization as well when they, for the same, but still,
Yeah.
for them looking towards an IPO, you don't want to have this like kind of loose end that isn't making much money at all, is probably costing them money in engineering time, and
Yeah.
could end up getting them sued by the SEC, right? Like, why wouldn't they kill it? So I understand it from Reddit's perspective when you look at it like that. I don't think it's as much. Honestly, I think it says that, that these types of systems don't work well with traditional, I hate to say Web 2, but whatever, Web 2 companies. Instagram tried NFTs, like, and Twitter experimented with NFTs a little bit. Reddit was by far the biggest kind of household social media name dabbling in crypto and NFTs. But I think it just kind of shows that it's hard to have a bunch of lawyers and executives in a boardroom deciding, whether this legal risk is worth pursuing into the future, right? Like, it's just, and at the same time, it was always a little bit silly to kind of have this decentralization and governance theater when at any time Reddit could kill the program, right? Or Reddit could mint an infinite amount of moons or decide to change the program arbitrarily however they wanted to. And now that's not the case, right? So I think it's specifically, I think it is kind of a good thing. I hate to be like the "this is good for Bitcoin" guy, and I've seen a ton of people doing it for moons all week, right? But
this is good for moons.
Yeah, I do. I think, like, I do think
Take it.
having the mods figure out some way to form some kind of organization and be transparent about how funds are moving through that organization is a much better model for a system like this than having it top down through Reddit. And I guess with that said, I think for specifics we'll talk a little bit more later. But now let's really move on to the next news item, which is I had this up 2 weeks ago when we were supposed to do this show for the first time, and I haven't changed it, and it's still, I think I misspelled imminent, but imminent Bitcoin ETF approval. There's not a lot of news, right? It seems like it's going to happen, and everybody knows it's going to happen, but nobody will say it's going to happen, right? Like,
yeah, it's been imminent for months, if not years, actually, hasn't it?
yeah,
it's been brought up again and again.
Sure, but I think now you've seen it reflected in the price for the last few weeks, since it kind of became clear that BlackRock seemed like they were kind of preparing for listing, and there was more news today that there was some leaks that the SEC's negotiating with exchanges for surveillance or something. Like, it seems like the process is happening.
It's happening. Yep, it's happening. You can put the "it's happening" GIF up.
Yeah. Ron Paul. Apparently Ron Paul's been reincarnated in Argentina, except now he's actually a winner. So.
Right. You know what? Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Jacob.
Sorry. I will back off a little bit. I didn't want to be too quiet. I see that, Jacob. Okay. And the other only real news that we have is SBF, which I also had up 2 weeks ago. He still hasn't been sentenced, right? But he was found guilty, and I don't know. Do you have thoughts on how long you think SBF should go away for at this point, especially in the context of apparently because of some venture capital investment that FTX made, they're bag holders on FTX are now close to like 80% whole or something. Like, I read if they liquidated the company now and tried to pay everybody out, like, you would get paid 80 cents on the dollar, which you could trade shares of FTX dollars, and they were down to like 10 or 20 cents a few months ago, I think. Yeah. So just in the context of it, looks like at this point, maybe the people who got screwed won't end up getting screwed so bad. They'll just be, they wouldn't have been able to get their hands on their money for a while. It's kind of like Mt. Gox, which I guess you have experience with as well.
I do, but much better than Mt. Gox though, right? Mt. Gox people have been waiting 10 years.
Right, yeah.
Still not, yeah.
So even if you get your same amount of money back, if you have to wait 10 years to get it back, you got screwed over pretty bad, I guess.
Oh, no, actually, no, to be honest. Well, if it's the same amount of money, but if you got back
the same amount of Bitcoin, but I heard for Gox, they're not doing that, right? They're paying out dollars, I thought.
They are, I think you're getting back at least up to 20% back. So it's not bad, actually.
In BTC?
In BTC of fiat. Yeah, it's not bad. 15 to 20%. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he should go to jail for life, personally. I don't know.
They're gonna make him an example. So.
They are, but I don't think he deserves it, really. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
Maybe he does. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it for sure either. So,
but the reality is that he's not the worst bad actor around. I'm not going to name names. I don't want to be sued for defamation, but there are big names out in crypto land that are doing probably worse things and running.
I don't know. Worse things. I don't know who's doing worse things than SBF was. Maybe. Well, at that scale, I'm sure there's people doing worse things, but like anyone doing it close at that scale, there's only a couple names. I mean, we can say Justin Sun, right? Everyone knows Justin Sun's a scammer, and Poloniex, it seems to be kind of in the process. It seems like there's like a trail of exit scams and like stuff following him around lately. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like that's not even close to the same scale that FTX was operating at, right? So
Yeah.
unless you're talking about, I mean, the only two people who come to mind that you could be talking about are CZ and maybe like Barry Schulbert,
You've
perhaps.
said the names, not me. And I'm
Well,
I'm the one who's anon at the moment.
that's okay. I'm not worried about CZ or
Yeah,
Barry. I think
fair
CZ's
enough.
got better stuff to do than worry about me talking trash on. Actually,
Well,
I like, you know what I like about Binance and CZ is they actually came on to do AMAs a few times. And the last time they came on to do an AMA, they actually burnt the moons. And then CZ never showed up because it was like in the midst of all of the SEC
right.
stuff. And at the same time, Coinbase, I arranged for Coinbase to have an AMA. And I like got the other mods to agree to like waive the moons because we started the discussion so long ago, it, like predated the moon burns for AMAs. And then they flaked out at the last minute. They didn't even show up. I was like, fucking Coinbase. So from that perspective, I like Binance better than Coinbase.
But we love all of you.
Yes, we
List
love
moons,
all.
please. Yeah, we love all of
Yeah,
you.
oh yeah, please. Okay, top posts of the last month. Number one, SBF going to jail, of course. I started to look at this. What is this? They cracked the code one to a locked USB drive, and then it got weird. I don't know.
What
But
is that one? Ooh. Oh, okay. They cracked the code. I think I
it's
looked at that.
some iron key USB that permanently
Yeah,
erases the context if they get 10 incorrect guesses.
that's right. There was a company that was set up. In fact, a few companies, but there was one specific company set up just to crack that. And apparently,
Right.
what's happened? If it's the same story,
Yeah,
they
Thomas
approached
had
the
one that had 2
yeah.
tries left.
That's right. Well, the guy, they actually cracked it. They think they've cracked it. They went to the person who owned the actual USB, and the person said, "Hang on, I've already signed a contract with someone else. I can't go with you. You may have to subcontract to that person, and let that person try first." Which was weird to me because if someone came to me to say that we can unlock, over $200 million of your money, and they only want a small percentage of it, you go with them. But
Yeah.
no, he was being very honorable. He had already signed a contract with someone else. So I think it was that.
Yes, it
Interesting.
was. And yeah,
Yeah.
but it looks like it's a really long story. And I don't know. It doesn't seem like it just says Thomas doesn't want to work with them at the end of the story, so it's kind of anticlimactic, honestly. I
Well,
was
that's
very
it.
disappointed at the end of that story. Yeah, and we got Bitcoin pumping stories, scams. So same old crypto news, I guess. Oh, and there was a after the Bitcoin ETF news, then there was a story of somebody putting out fake Ripple ETF news, and it pumped, and then immediately somebody announced it was fake, and it totally reversed all of its gains. But somebody made a lot of money longing it, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and now
Well, it's kind of
sorry.
it was kind of like that fake news that came out in the tweet by in the which company, which media company. We've made them an unreliable source for a while.
Oh,
That one.
Cointelegraph, yeah.
That's it. Cointelegraph. Right. Yeah, I mean similar. It was a tweet. It pumped the price, and it was fake.
Oh yes, yeah, exactly.
mean,
And then they were like,
what?
"Oh, it's the intern, bro. It's always the intern."
Exactly. I'll tell you what. I mean, while we're on the news, what's been interesting for me is the rumors around the Ethereum founders involved in dodgy activity. You know that one? Yeah. Again, it's all unfounded rumors.
I
right?
heard there was like some guy promising to release more info after 48 hours, which I feel like anybody who does that invariably, they never have anything like
Yeah.
substantial to produce.
Yeah.
Ethereum's sketchy AF. Like honestly, the beginning of Ethereum was very sketchy. Like,
That's
and
true.
there's nothing you can go back and change to change what happened. And I don't think there's gonna be any big. I'm sure like all of the public data about the pre-sale and everything and the founders' addresses has all been analyzed to death. So I really doubt there's going to be anything new coming out from that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Back to moons
Okay.
then.
Yeah, let's get back to moons. So we have Reddit and our cryptocurrency subreddit updates, and we have moon updates. I'm going to kind of just combine them. And let's talk about some of the questions that were in the subreddit thread. Or if you guys have questions in the chat, you guys can ask them. But yeah, I would say just as a kind of a general where things stand, I think the first step in my mind is that the moderators have to form some kind of entity that can manage the business operations of the subreddit, because it's really like a business now. And especially, as I already mentioned, I don't want to be solely responsible for holding the Moon Distributor funds. And we do plan to possibly use some of those funds to restart the distributions. But especially if we're going to modify the system such that the AMA and banner moons are not fully burned, if those moons are coming back to the moderation team and then being redistributed to other users, like in that case, I absolutely think we need to have some kind of legal entity that handles that. So that's the first step in my mind about what we need to do. And then going forwards from there, I think there's a lot of questions about like, well, what's going to happen to the distribution from the previous round, October? I think the answer to that question is it's never going to happen. Additional use cases. There was a couple mentions, banner and AMA only, and then one of the first comments said something about some other options. Paid custom flares. Yes, I think we've talked about that. Adding rental space to the side banner. We have also discussed that, and paid promotional posts for sure. Those are all things that we've talked about. We're in the process of recruiting a couple of new mods. We've asked a couple people. I think one of them said no, and one of them I think said yes. We'll see. And like in terms of timeframes and rentals for the banner, I don't even know what CCIP 51 is offhand. There's a question about that.
Yeah, I think for now we can assume that all the CCIPs remain. We're not thinking of changing it.
I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
personally, I'm not sure that
Or you
should
wanna
be the
just-
case. I don't know that we
Well,
should go with
yeah,
the blank slate, but maybe we should kind of have some discussion about each of them and have a revote or something. And I mean, because the big question is like governance going forwards, and that's a lot of I think the questions in the comments as well. So I think right now, governance, if we were going to do votes today, I think we should weigh them a couple of different ways. So I think everyone should be able to vote, and we should analyze the results in terms of total moons voted for one or another option, as well as earned moons voted for one or another option, as well as maybe just total number of people or votes for one or another option. and that will give us a few different ways to analyze the results of how the community feels about things. Personally, I'm more of a mind to kind of go towards, at least in this initial phase of kind of getting the system up and running again, maybe going to just total moon vote for the ultimate decider. I don't know. What do you think about that?
It's a good question. I think you're right. But, I think we can work around it by giving different weightings to the different ratios. And I think Sintre had a good idea around the timing of when you buy and that as well. So we'll work that out, I think. The idea would be for the mod team to come up with a draft based on the current CCIPs and some proposals for new ways moving forward. One of the key ones, for example, is the fact that we did remove the voting for AMAs. And I think some feedback has been that the community wants to have a say into what AMAs should go forward and what shouldn't, without slowing down the process. So that's one thing that we can revisit early on. And definitely if you're not going to burn all the moons from AMAs and banners, how much are we going to keep? So there's been quite a bit of discussion in CC Meta already around that.
Yeah. So I think Sintre's idea, as I understood, is so for the distributions, let's say if we restart the distributions, then the number of moons per distribution will be much lower. Reddit typically distributed several million moons per month. We have a total of 1 million moons per month, and even if we put 100% of the revenue from the banner and the AMAs, I would guess our total revenue in terms of moon burns per month is maybe 50,000 moons or something. It's much less than a couple million for sure. So let's say we were going to distribute 100,000 moons per month, and we're distributing kind of 95% less moons than Reddit would have been. So how do we manage governance in this situation? And Sintre's idea was to weight recently earned moons more heavily, I think. So like, let's say if we voted on everything and all moons counted equally in these votes, bought or earned, to set up the new system, then after that, going forwards, if you earned moons, those moons would count, like let's say the first month after you earn them, they would count 10x or something. And then the second month, they would count 5x, and the moons you earned that month, 10x, and then it would fade back so that after 6 months or whatever, those moons that you earned now had the same voting weight as bought moons. So there's like this decay where freshly earned moons have the biggest voting weight, and then they kind of decay to being equal with bought moons. And that, so that I really like that idea. I think it's a good way to give more governance weight to people actively participating in the system while still not cutting out people who have huge bags of moons, bought or earned, but have maybe not been active in the sub so much, at least recently.
Yeah, I think it's a very neat and clever way forward to reweight the moons and give everyone an opportunity to be part of the governance. So yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I really like that idea, and I think I don't know how else we would really kind of incentivize for governance without something like that. I think it was a really good idea. There's a couple questions about Moonplace. I'm sorry, I suck. I'm gonna do something about Moonplace, yes, but I'm not gonna promise when. Hopefully before 2025. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Let's see. That's about, oh, will legal action be taken against the mods who dumped before the public announcement? Certainly not by the remaining moderators. There will be no legal action taken by us.
And yeah, I was going to jump in to kind of address that point as well. I think people need to understand that you need to understand how Reddit works, right? The moderator team for a subreddit is a bunch of volunteers of people who are active in the sub, and then they come together. A lot of us are not even docs. We don't know who the other people are. Like, we interact with them, but we're not staff for Reddit. We're not part of a company. So if a person on the mod team decides to do something crazy, we don't even know who they are. And, especially if they resign and delete their account, which one of the mods have done, who do we sue? What do we sue for? Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the loss for us? And what's the law that's been broken in the first place? Who's going to pay for the lawyers?
Yeah,
it's not
there's
that
actually,
simple.
I looked, when we were talking about it over the last month, there's no insider trading laws, at least in the United States. I don't know where the mods were, honestly. But in the United States, insider trading laws only refer to securities, which Reddit desperately hopes moons are not securities, right? You know what I mean? So it wouldn't, and I looked actually there was the case of like the insider, it was called insider trading at Coinbase, but actually the defendants were charged with like wire fraud and other fraud related crimes. There was no statute like of insider trading that they were charged with. So I don't think that there's any chance of legal action against the mods. No, who's gonna sue them? I don't think anybody is interested in suing them. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think that's right. That's right. So, who's going to do it? Who's going to pay the lawyers? Is an individual has to do it? Would it be you? Anyone listening in want to do it? Do you know what I mean? Like, and how are you going to serve the claim?
No, actually, I think Reddit is a much more legal risk of getting sued successfully than the mods who dumped, honestly. I think, even though Reddit, you went in their terms of service and called these tokens, no cash value, I think that there's a pretty, I don't know.
Now,
I don't want to say strong argument, but there's like an argument you could make where when they start making
let's not freak out Reddit.
FTX and stuff.
No, Reddit, you're gonna be fine. Just renounce the contract. Don't change it. Renounce the contract, and you'll be okay. Don't freak Reddit out before they renounce the contract, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just kidding. We're gonna sue the mods, not Reddit.
Yeah. So I think kind of as we wrap up, we are waiting for Reddit to renounce the contract by the end of the month. So that's number one, because I don't think we're going to do anything else until we're going to know that that's going to happen, just in case.
But I think we can work under that assumption and start thinking about what are the next steps.
Agree. Number two, right? Just so people understand, the legal entity that we want to create, that JW referred to, that's going to take some time as well, right? That's not going to be overnight. So we need to think about the right legal structure, think about the right jurisdiction.
I still need to talk to some lawyers. I said I was going to do that, and I still haven't done that.
Like, which country? Is it going to be in the US? Is it going to be overseas? And then set up that company structure or the association incorporated structure. That will take a few weeks, if not a couple of months. So again, that will take a while we'll keep the community up to date. In the meantime, as JW says, we can still work out the governance of distribution and the voting and all of that. So please do keep thinking about that and give us your ideas and suggestions. We are very open to the community being part of this.
Yeah, right. And we are working on some voting infrastructure. But if you have ideas, and especially if you have skills and you want to help contribute, please let us know. We've got an offer of help from the Coneheads guy, Rick,
Yeah.
specifically on the tip bot and the distribution bot. I think maybe we'll take him up on the tip bot offer. I don't know, but immediately I think that we're more interested, at least personally, I'm more interested in thinking about voting and being able to count votes, like just counting votes by moons, like total moon holdings, shouldn't be too tricky, but then trying to start counting votes, in the ways that Reddit did in terms of earned moons. Actually, I think we scraped all of the earned moon data, so I think we should be able to piece that together as well. But like in terms of like going forwards, counting the kind of exponentially decaying moon rate, like we just lost a couple bot and server guys. So if you are a developer and user of our cryptocurrency and are interested in helping moderate, maybe reach out, or not necessarily moderate, even just help out with kind of this building of the infrastructure needed for the new, Moons V2, right?
Yeah. So good. So look, I personally think that Moons is better off without direct Reddit involvement. It will still be part of Reddit because it will be part of the largest Reddit
Yeah, I guess
community for
I
crypto.
would say, like you kind of alluded to already, like don't expect too much too fast out of the moderators. As we've tried to explain, like there's some logistical hurdles that are just going to take some time. But I think, we're all committed to keeping them a part of the subreddit and using them for governance and for like, kind of the revenue of the subreddit. And just one more reason why I think this might be a good idea is personally, I know myself and I think at least a couple of the other moderators would like to take this as an opportunity to start broadening Moons beyond Reddit and especially moving towards some more decentralized and self-hosted platforms like Mastodon or Nostr or Lemmy. And so maybe in a year or something, it's possible we could be, starting to branch out into other platforms and looking at, advertising there and really growing Moons beyond Reddit. But yes, for now, Moons are definitely going to continue to be a part of our cryptocurrency and live on Reddit, so to speak.
Yep.
Yup.
That's
Cool.
right.
Well, that was 45 minutes, so I think
It is.
we
Yeah.
covered pretty much all of the questions and the comments, and I was really trying to keep it under half an hour. So I think with that, let's say goodnight, and we will see. I guess we said we were gonna do this the first Sunday of every month. So we're 2 weeks behind because we were waiting for an answer from Reddit before we went on. But in theory, we'll be back here in 2 weeks on December 3rd at 9:30 p.m. But we will definitely be back here tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. in just 23 hours and 15 minutes for trivia with a 1,000 Moon prize. So yeah.
Yeah, please join us tomorrow.
Join tomorrow, and yeah, thanks for joining tonight, and we will see you all later. Bye, MVA.
Yeah. Bye, JW. Bye, everyone who's dialed in to listen to us. It's been awesome.